Good evening, you're watching the main news at 7:30 on ATV. I'm Anne Sim.
And I'm Britton Clennett. Here's a look at tonight's top stories.
Mainland tycoon linked to former security czar gets death sentence for mafia-style crimes.
Beijing says 5 suicide bombers launched a Urumqi attack which killed 31 people yesterday.
Hong Kong cancels tours to Thailand as military government bans scores of people from leaving country.
Former mining tycoon Liu Han has been sentenced to death by a mainland court for corruption and leading a mafia-style crime ring in Sichuan province for 2 decades.
His case has been linked to a bigger corruption investigation involving former security czar Zhou Yongkang. After a trial that lasted nearly a month, former Sichuan mining magnate Liu Han was handed the death penalty today by a provincial court in central Hubei. The 48-year-old, with suspected ties to the family of retired security czar Zhou Yongkang, was convicted on charges of leading a gang on a crime spree spanning 2 decades. His younger brother Liu Wei was also sentenced to death, along with 3 accomplices. Another 31 gang members were given penalties ranging from suspended death sentences, normally commuted to life imprisonment, to 3 years in jail. It's not known whether the Liu brothers and others convicted will appeal. The court stated that, among other things, Liu Han and his mafia-style gang had, in an organised fashion, obtained financial gains via illegal activities. They had also, on multiple occasions, committed murder, harm and illegal detention. The verdict stated they relied on the cover-ups and collusion of government employees to illegally control gaming machines in Guanghan in Sichuan province. It was found that Liu ordered the execution of his business rivals, often in public places such as tea houses, to reinforce his power and help his company Han Lung maintain its dominance in mining. The verdict was the culmination of one of the highest-profile cases against a private businessman since President Xi Jinping took office last year and began a campaign against corruption. Xi's crackdown has zeroed in on Sichuan, where Han Lung mining is based. State media reported that the gang had strong political ties that played a role in Liu's appointment as a delegate to Sichuan's political advisory body. Other reports say Liu was a close associate of Zhou Bin, son of former security czar Zhou Yongkang, now at the centre of one of the mainland's biggest corruption scandals in more than 6 decades. Sichuan was the power base of the elder Zhou, who retired from the Politburo Standing Committee in 2012. Zhou, who was also once the boss of China National Petroleum Corporation, has not been seen in public for months. The corruption probe was launched after he apparently tried to continue exerting his influence from behind the scenes, threatening the stability of the Beijing leadership. In recent months, several top officials from Sichuan linked to Zhou have come under scrutiny. In April, Guo Yongxiang, a former Sichuan vice-governor, was removed from his post, while the province's former deputy party chief Li Chongcheng is being investigated for bribery. President Xi's campaign against corruption is growing into one of the broadest in China's modern history, snaring dozens of businessmen and government officials. Last year, disgraced Chongqing party boss Bo Xilai was sentenced to life in prison after a sensational corruption trial that exposed intrigue and lavish lifestyles in the higher levels of the ruling party. Last month, the central government's top anti-corruption body said it was investigating Song Lin, chairman of China Resources Holdings, for corruption. Song has denied the allegations, but was removed as chairman of the state-run conglomerate. China says 5 suicide bombers carried out the market attack which killed 31 people in Xinjiang yesterday.
Overseas extremist organisations, Beijing claims, influenced those behind the deadliest terrorist strike in the restive Western region. Newly released pictures of the deadly terrorist attack in Xinjiang's capital, Urumqi, show police responding moments after bombs exploded in a market in the city. This elderly woman was among the scores of people rushed to hospital in the wake of the surprise attack yesterday. According to the Communist Party's Global Times newspaper, 5 suicide bombers in 2 vehicles blew themselves up. An investigation is underway for possible accomplices. The Foreign Ministry believes those behind the attack might have links to overseas terrorist organizations. Spokesman Hong Lei said the assailants were influenced by religious extremism online. The horror began at 7:50 a.m. when the two vehicles without license plates rammed through a metal barrier and into a crowd of people. Bombs were hurled from the vehicles before they collided head-on, triggering an explosion. The terrorist attack, the deadliest in Xinjiang so far, left 31 people dead and 94 injured. Many of the casualties were elderly shoppers. Public Security Minister Guo Xiongkun, who flew to Urumqi immediately after the deadly raid, visited some of the injured in hospital. The fire burst out suddenly. When I turned around, a car was on top of me and I struggled to crawl out, said 79-year-old Qian Jufeng. I was about to buy beef and dates, but then I saw everyone around me pushing and running. I fell over and fractured my head, said Sharaguli Shaiti. The 62-year-old woman was one of the many Muslim Uyghurs hurt in the attack. Footage released by a Japanese TV crew today showed authorities reacting to an airline bomb threat just hours after the Urumqi attack. Two planes bound for Xinjiang were diverted, including this one travelling from Shanghai. It landed at Nanjing, where police stormed the plane and arrested one passenger. But no explosives were found on either plane. Yesterday's attack in Xinjiang's capital was the latest in a series blamed by Beijing on Islamist militants and separatists. Just 3 weeks ago, one person was killed and 80 injured in a terrorist assault at an Urumqi train station. The attacks have raised tensions in a region simmering with discontent, as Uyghurs in Xinjiang have long voiced discontent about restrictions on their religion and culture. They are also angry with policies that favour China's ethnic Han majority. The World Uyghur Congress office in Washington expressed shock over yesterday's attack and said it's time Beijing listened to the complaints.
And our demands have fallen on deaf ears. So we have no any kind of direct or indirect communications or contacts with the Chinese authorities. And with this unfortunate incident, as a frequency of this happening, it should be a wake-up call for the Chinese government.
The US also condemned the raid, branding it as the work of terrorists.
We offer our deepest condolences and sympathies to the victims, their families, and all of those affected by this tragedy.
President Xi Jinping, who has pledged zero tolerance on terrorism and separatism, has vowed to punish those responsible for the carnage in Urumqi. The army in Thailand has banned scores of politicians and officials from leaving the country following a coup that followed months of anti-government protests.
Ousted Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra and other officials were summoned to the army's headquarters, while others, including protest leaders, are believed to be detained. ATV's Ben O'Rourke reports.
A van believed to be carrying former Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra arrived at the army's headquarters this morning, as politicians, ministers and relatives of hers working in the government were summoned by coup leader General Prayut Chan-o-cha. The military seizure followed months of mass rallies by anti-government protesters who want to rid Thai politics of all traces of the Shinawatra family. Opponents believe the family implemented the policies and instructions of Yingluck's fugitive brother Thaksin, who is living in exile to avoid prison after being convicted of corruption. When the protests continued even after Yingluck was fired earlier this month for abuse of power and indicted for corruption over a rice-buying scheme, Prayut decided enough was enough. He demanded protesters on both sides give up and go home, or else they'll be fined or jailed. Crowds of anti-Yingluck yellow shirts boarded buses back home today, some of them disappointed they've been forced to end their fight. We've spent 6 months demonstrating and the people haven't gained anything, said this protester. Now the soldiers have taken control, we won't have our voices heard. I will come here again if the military doesn't do what we're demanding, said another. Since the protests began in November last year, dozens of yellow shirts have been killed in attacks on their camps blamed on red shirts who support the Shinawatras. They're vastly outnumbered by the yellow shirts, and most have already returned home, although their leaders insist they're not going anywhere and will continue protesting. Earlier, Prayut invited foreign ambassadors in Bangkok for a briefing to explain why he'd taken over. Measures he's introduced include curfews, closing down television stations and threats to restrict internet usage. Some politicians and protest leaders are said to have been detained. The general has also banned 155 political figures, including Yeung, from leaving the country, a clear sign that he will not let her escape justice like her brother did 5 years ago. Thaksin was ousted in the last coup in 2006. He was seen to be selling out Thailand's sovereignty to Western corporations at the expense of the people, prompting the army, backed by the royal family, to step in. Moves by Yeung to allow Thaksin, through an amnesty, to return home unpunished sparked the recent round of street protests. The West has slammed the latest military takeover.
We've taken preliminary steps to suspend military engagement and assistance while we consider the facts on the ground. This is a standard part of the process that would take place. So right now there's a comprehensive review of that going on.
The Secretary General is seriously concerned by the military takeover in Thailand today. He appeals for a prompt return to constitutional, civilian, democratic rule and an all-inclusive dialogue that will pave the way for long-term peace and prosperity in Thailand.
Despite the behind-the-scenes drama and military checkpoints, the streets of Bangkok aren't as chaotic as they have been in the past, and it appears as if it's business as usual, at least as far as tourists are concerned.
For the last 4 days we have been having a very nice time as travelers, and we never faced any problem anywhere.
I think it's a little bit scary because I don't know much about it.
We're there. It's it's on our mind, but we're okay. We come from Israel, so we get used to it.
The coup came 2 days after the army declared martial law. Ben O'Rourke, ATV News.
And Hong Kong travel agencies have cancelled tours to Thailand for a week following the military coup.
The Hong Kong government upgraded the alert for travel to Thailand to red, but many people still left for the holiday destination today. ATV's Winner Wong reports.
Many individual travelers checked in at Chek Lap Kok today for flights to Thailand, although the SAR government issued the red travel alert last night after the army seized power in Bangkok. The second highest travel warning urges Hong Kong people to stay away from the popular holiday destination. But many who left today for Bangkok or beach resorts said they had booked well in advance and didn't want to waste money. They also said they heard the situation in Thailand is now calmer after the military takeover, following months of sometimes violent protests in Bangkok. Arrivals from the Thai capital echoed those sentiments, but cautioned that transport there could be a problem.
It's a bit difficult to get a taxi to come to the airport, but at night time it's really quiet. Yeah, because we have the curfew in the evening, so everyone rushed back to their home, so the traffic's really bad. But after like 10, 11 p.m. onward, it's really quiet.
Others said they were not stopped by soldiers from going to the airport, even during curfew hours. In the wake of the coup, the Travel Industry Council held an emergency meeting today and decided to cancel all package tours to Thailand for a week, starting tomorrow. The move will affect 1,300 people on 70 tour groups. Customers can get a refund for a fee or join another tour within the next 6 months. There are currently around 1,200 Hong Kong visitors from 50 tour groups in Thailand. 6 tours scheduled to leave today were cancelled, but one to Phuket and another to Chiang Mai went ahead. The council will meet again on Wednesday to discuss the fate of tours leaving after next Saturday. Winner Wong, ATV News.
After dragging on for nearly 100 hours, the debate on the budget bill finally ended half an hour ago.
Lawmakers will now vote on more than 1,000 amendments, and if all goes smoothly, the budget can be approved next month, averting a fiscal crisis. ATV's Arthur Kiona reports.
Before the final session of the budget bill kicked off this afternoon, LegCo President Chang Yuk-sing announced that the debate must end by 7 p.m. After a 1-hour dinner break, all lawmakers will have to start voting on each amendment, Sang added. On Tuesday, he exercised his discretionary powers and imposed a deadline to counter a filibuster launched by radical lawmakers. The move was widely condemned by pan-Democrats, who branded it a political decision and abuse of power. But Sang rejected the criticism, saying he has such rights under LegCo's rules of procedures, and those unhappy with his decision could challenge him in court. The LegCo president has been accused of buckling to pressure from the government, which has repeatedly warned of a fiscal cliff if the bill was not passed soon. Public services would run out of funds, while welfare would have to be suspended next month, officials claimed. After 99 hours, the marathon debate finally drew to a close this evening, as the 6th and final debate session reached its 8-hour time limit. Now lawmakers will sift through the 1,192 amendment motions, a process which is expected to take 4 days. If things go smoothly, the third and final reading of the bill can be completed before the 4th of June, so funds can be released to the government. Arthur Akiola, ATV News.
Still to come in ATV's main news tonight. Work on another rail line thrown off track, but MTRC assures it can catch up.
US axed Landon Donovan for World Cup, while Luis Suarez injury triggers death threats.
Elemental Evolution. The ATV 2014 Miss Asia pageant is about to start. Ladies, come and show the world your beauty.
The ATV 2014 Miss Asia pageant. Waiting for your participation. Come and join us now.
Elemental Evolution. ATV Miss Asia Pageant 2014 is now inviting applications. When it comes to weather, you know it's accuracy that matters. Weather report, tonight at 7:55. Lost in clouds and mist, this masterpiece of nature attracts so many climbers. Take adventures, experience the beauty of nature, coming close to the top, embrace the lost world in the sky. Documentary World, The Great Summits, tonight at 9.
I'm in love! You're really not!
Crazy things happen when a man's in love.
Oh! I just took a picture of both of us!
I need one of you to help me with a very special assignment, using these hangers.
More crazy things happen when a man's jealous. This time, everything's out of control.
I'm in love with Liz Lemon.
What?
And her laugh. Her walk.
As love knocks on the door. 30 Rock, Saturday and Sunday night at 10. They can drive you nuts. From the most powerful roaring on Earth to the sexiest bodies you'll ever see. They're surely every man's dream. Drive it every Monday night at 8. In cooking, there are rules. In Aaron Craze's world, rules are made to be broken.
This is what's different to fine dining sort of food.
Believe it or not, the best delicacies are on the street.
That's fantastic, look at that.
Gear up for the amazing cooking tour. Rude Boy Food. Tonight at 10.
A railway line connecting Yau Ma Tei and Whampoa is the latest to fall behind schedule, adding to the MTRC's litany of woes.
But officials are still aiming to complete the Kwun Tong line extension next year. Winnow Wong reports.
The MTRC admitted today that yet another project is running behind schedule. This time the problem is on the Kwun Tong line extension, which will serve areas in Homanton, Hung Hom and Whampoa that do not have rail services. The railway operator said that 60% of the project had been completed by last month, but some work, including the construction of underground facilities in Whampoa Station, is lagging behind. However, with blasting works for the Homanton Station already completed, the MTRC is still aiming to complete the project next year as originally planned. This is the 5th railway project facing delays. The most dramatic was the announcement last month that the high-speed rail link to Guangzhou, originally scheduled to open next year, will be pushed back by 2 years. The railway operator then said that ancient artifacts found at the site of Tokuawan Station was affecting the construction of the Shatin to Central link. This month, the company admitted that work for the West Island and South Island lines were also being held up. Winna Wong, ATV News.
Tendering for 2 residential sites in Kai Tak and Tai Po closed today.
But the response from developers was markedly different, with the Kai Tak plot attracting stronger interest. Tendering for 2 residential sites in Kai Tak and Tai Po's Pak Shek Kok closed at noon today. The Kai Tak site proved popular, receiving around a dozen bids, as it's in the urban area and in a prime location. It attracted bids from the city's major developers, including Cheung Kong, Henderson Land and New World Development. The site is close to the future Kai Tak MTR station, and surveyors have valued it at around $2.4 billion. It covers an area of 82,603 square feet and could yield a maximum gross floor area of 413,015 square feet. The winning bidder has to provide at least 630 flats. But developers were cautious when it came to the Pak Shek Kok site in Tai Po, which received only 4 bids. It has an area of 208,822 square feet and could provide a maximum floor area of 730,876 square feet. A nearby site was withdrawn from sale in March because the offers submitted failed to meet the government's reserve price. That poor response led most surveyors to cut their estimates for the value of the Pak Shek Kok site from about $5,500 per square foot to around $4,000 per square foot. Surveyors said developers were cautious in bidding for the Tai Po site today because there's plenty of new housing supply and there are still a number of sites in the area that will be up for tender in the coming year. Weakening sales had also dampened developers' interest in new sites. China has warned Hong Kong citizens not to break the law in the push for democracy.
This came as a radical lawmaker accused the SAR government of trying to discourage people from getting involved in politics. Arthur Akula reports.
Members of the Democratic Party and the environmental group Green Sense defied the rain as they protested outside Government House. They accused the government of grabbing land for residential purposes before holding proper consultations. The protest this morning came as Chief Executive Raymond Yeung hosted a lunch in Government House for District Council chairmen and their deputies to discuss land issues. Leung also came under more fire today after his question and answer session with lawmakers yesterday was cut short, after he was insulted by radical members who threw buns at him. One of the 4 radicals ordered to leave the chamber accused officials of trying to stifle anti-government sentiment. Leung Kwok-hung claims the government is doing this by warning people not to join Occupy Central activities and stirring up friction between the legislature and the administration. He alleges that the aim is to discourage people from getting involved in political activities. The radical lawmaker also questioned LegCo President Chang Yuk-sing's explanation in ordering his eviction. Chang said he was trying to prevent Leung from hurling a bun at the chief executive after another radical legislator had done so. But Leung Kwok-hung said he had no intention of hitting or hurting the chief executive and just wanted to humiliate him. After the session was halted, Leung Chun-ying condemned the radicals' actions as uncivilized. The Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office released a statement saying the chief executive's duty to visit LegCo and answer questions should be respected. Office Director Wang Guangya also warned people not to break the law when pushing for democracy. At a meeting in Beijing with Hong Kong delegates to China's top political advisory body, Wang said the police will deal with attempts to occupy Central. Arthur Akula, ATV News.
Time now for sports with Raymond Yeung.
And death threats ahead of the World Cup.
Well, that's right. They've come from angry Uruguayans. The threats were directed at Newcastle defender Paul Dummett, who has been blamed for an injury that could force Uruguay's star striker to miss the World Cup.
Uruguayan football fans are keeping their fingers crossed after marksman Luis Suarez underwent surgery for a knee injury. Doctors said the operation was successful, but a top scorer in England last season, needs at least 3 weeks to regain full fitness. Die-hard Uruguayans who fear that Suarez might miss the World Cup have issued death threats online to Newcastle defender Paul Dummett, blaming him for injuring the Liverpool striker during a Premiership clash last week. Suarez himself is confident of playing in Brazil, when the world's top football tournament kicks off in 3 weeks' time. Uruguay are in the same group as England, who have been training in Portugal. The English are hoping that Wayne Rooney, who failed to score in the last 2 World Cups, will deliver in Brazil.
There'll be no excuses this time if I don't perform. I want to go and show the world what I can do, and I really believe this is the time to do it.
England will also play Italy and Costa Rica in the group stage. Veteran goal poacher Landon Donovan has been axed from the US squad. He scored a record 57 goals for his country, but the national coach said at 32, the striker is feeling his age.
The other guys right now are a little bit ahead of him, and I told him that, and he understands it, but obviously he's very disappointed.
Donovan's omission could prompt him to retire from international football. The host nation, meanwhile, faced more protests. More than 15,000 people marched in Brazil's largest city, Sao Paulo, which will host the opening match of the World Cup. The demonstrators demanded justice, saying they lost their homes because of infrastructure building and soaring property prices. Street artists are also angry and responded with drawings to show that public money should be spent on the needy and not on the World Cup.
And a look at the weather before we go. There was more unstable weather today with downpours in the northeastern New Territories this morning. Temperatures ranged from 25.4 to 28.9 degrees, while the relative humidity was between 82 and 98%. Winds were moderate to fresh coming in from the southwest. Let's check on the ultraviolet reading. The maximum recorded for the day was 1. And tomorrow's UV index will be around 9. Now for a look at the weather in the region. A lingering trough of low pressure is bringing a more unsettled weather to Guangdong. And now the satellite images. Cloud bands are covering southern China. Here's what we can expect over the next few days. Showers overnight may give way to sunny periods tomorrow. Temperatures will range from 27 to 31 degrees. Finally, a break from the gloomy skies in the days to come, which will remain hot with a high of 32 degrees. And here are the latest pollution readings under the Air Quality Health Index. General stations are at 2 to 4, meaning the health risk is low to moderate. Roadside levels are at 4 to 5. Finally, here's the weather around the world.
That's our main news for Friday night. We'll have an update in an hour. I'm Britton Clenett.
I'm Raymond Yeung.
And I'm Anne-Marie Sim. Thanks for watching ATV and have a great weekend. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Coming up, Super Cameras 3. Every year, their warm hearts enlighten our minds. ATV Hong Kong Loving Heart Selection Campaign 2014 is now open for nomination. The 5th year, we need more positive energy. The finest coast of Italy attracts holidaymakers from all over the world. Get immersed in Italian bathing culture. Prepare to be spoiled. Leisure time. Life's a beach. Tonight at 8:30. Sponges show how simple survivors stand the test of time. exploring its amazing inner workings and characteristics, discovering ancient life beneath the seas. Science on the Seven Seas, Monday night at 8:30.
Use your time wisely. Make every hour of every day count. Discover the real meaning of life on Hour of Power, every Sunday morning at 9.
Hot topics of our time. Key issues of the day. From different perspectives of comprehensive views. The forum. The news. The discussion. Check in current news. Newsline, Sunday night at 8.
Soccer Fever, Amazing Mode presents the most fantastic game ever.